There's nothing like a particularly brain-dead take to get the blood boiling, especially one so mindlessly moronic that it actually accomplishes the opposite of whatever its spewer's intent was in the first place. If you were looking for a place to find a take such as this, look no further than Game Informer's Final Fantasy XVI review. Now, the thing about Game Informer is that they have been trending Kotaku for the last few years. They are basically Diet Kotaku at this point, which means their game opinions, articles, reviews, what have you, more and more frequently contain some crackpot social commentary in an attempt to present themselves as harbingers of morality. And in this Final Fantasy XVI review, we get treated to some hot, holier-than-thou takes on what's it gonna be? Slavery. Oh, it's fun. And by fun, I mean mind-numbing. The reviewer gave the game an 8.5 out of 10, which, whatever, I haven't finished it. Barely started it, in fact, so I have no opinion on its overall quality yet. But I've gotten far enough to see some of the subject matter he references in regard to how it handles slavery, which he calls the biggest miss of Final Fantasy XVI. So the worst part of the game, apparently. Let me just read this paragraph as he wrote it for full context. The story begins as a revenge tale against the backdrop of slavery. In Valisthea, bearers, or people that can use magic, are enslaved, traded, and sold to whomever and wherever they're needed. Final Fantasy XVI fails to say anything new or remarkable on this front, a miss made all the more glaring given the main cast of Final Fantasy XVI features few people of color. Inspired by medieval Europe, a majority white cast commenting on and fighting against slavery and the systems that uphold it with little insight or representation from the types of real-world people often affected by slavery is the biggest miss of Final Fantasy XVI. My man, I hope you have worms feasting on all that brain rot, so it's at least serving some kind of beneficial purpose to something. Why do you need this fictitious game in a fictitious setting to stroke your real-world politics? This dude's sitting here listening to people talk about their horrible lives under slavery, but because they aren't black, he's like, this is a big miss. Black people did not monopolize slavery. Theirs is the most closely related to our country's history, but people from every race on the planet have been enslaved at one point or another, either because of their skin, or they had the wrong political opinions, or because they were serfs. Slavery is a global evil that does not discriminate in who it discriminates against. So I'm not out here like, sorry, I can only take black people seriously about this. The slavery circumstances depicted in this game are every bit as terrible as their real-world counterparts, and if you need someone's face to be color swapped before you can empathize with them, you might be a fucking lunatic. And that's all it would be. Color swapping. The dialogue is still written by the same people, but if you turn the characters a little brown, all of a sudden what they're saying has weight. Have you thought your horrendous moralizing through even a little bit? Also, apparently white people fighting against slavery is a big miss, even though without them doing so in the real world, we'd probably still have slavery here. There are people on this earth who would go back in time and find Abraham Lincoln after he did the Emancipation Proclamation and go, bro, that was cringe. You should have let Obama do that instead. This reviewer said, Final Fantasy XVI fails to say anything new or remarkable on this front, talking about slavery, but for what it's worth, before COVID, Hollywood released a new black-driven slave movie every 6 weeks like clockwork, and I know the kind of dude who writes this kind of paragraph in a game review had a front row seat to all of them with a giddy smile plastered on his face. Like, what the hell else is left to say? I don't know how you expect anything from Final Fantasy about this beyond slavery is bad, let's fight against it while we all wear 16 belts on random parts of our body. Hi, I went to the University of North Florida, and I thought it was a big miss that this Japanese studio failed to center this game around the specific brand of slavery I was taught about in school, and also failed to give starring roles to Will Smith and Queen Latifah, who are my icons. It's not that deep. Slavery is a broad-spectrum entity that takes many forms across many time periods for many different reasons, so you should be able to empathize with the struggle of slaves without critiquing their ethnicity like an actual racist. And if you come from a group of people whose ancestors were victims of slavery at one point or another, which statistically is every single one of you, I would try not to get bogged down in the details of the specific circumstances because it seems like they're going pretty broad here. Now, if I play more of the game and one of the characters is like, and then he dragged me behind a pickup truck for whistling at a white woman, then I'll be like, okay, they're a little more focused on one version of this than another, in which case maybe it would have been more prudent to get some more pointed representation in there to still say the same things written by the same people that would all of a sudden make you cry now and clap your hands and snap your fingers and say yas. This reviewer is white, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. For the record, please don't read into the fact that I recently shaved my head before making a video that talks about slavery. I was paid to do it on stream twice for some reason, and I guarantee there are no dubious tattoos on the back of my bald dome or recent purchases of new bedsheets and novelty tiki torches. Thank you for your understanding. Well, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can like, share, and subscribe. Watch all my other videos and pretend I still have hair, and I'll see you guys next time.